You ready to continue with interviews?
Yes.
Okay, so let me share the screen so we can.
All right, ready.
Yes, Amolar? Yes, good.
I'm ready.
Excellent. Before lunch, we were discussing about the types of interviews. We reviewed all those. Now we are going to talk about what do we need to do before we go to the interview, during the interview, and what to do after the interview as well. It's not only your performance in the interview, but also you need to do some research. There are some steps that you need to take and notes that you also need to keep after each interview. So let me share the screen with you. How to prepare? We recommend that you keep in mind the 4 R's. These R's are for research. You also need to rehearse, relax, and review your performance. When we talk about research, what do you think you need to research when attending an interview?
Questions and about the company and the way they dress. Yeah.
Yes, great. Thank you. You need to research the company. You visit the company website so you learn a little bit about the company culture, their vision, their mission, their values. So you can ask questions that you don't have the answers in their website. You probably did already this research when you applied to the job and you were writing your cover letter. Remember, you need to add a little note in the cover letter about your values and what makes you apply to that specific job. You find this information when you are visiting their website. If possible, in advance, you could do an informational interview so you can speak with someone who works there. You can go to LinkedIn and see if they have a LinkedIn profile. People who work there, if they have a LinkedIn profile, what do they do? What do they say about their job duties and their tasks there? Go to Glassdoor, visit Glassdoor and see if there are some tips for interviews. Also, you can see what others have to say about the company. Talk to people that you know. Probably your network knows someone who is working there. They have heard about this company. They can give you some tips and opinions about the company. You also need to get their address so you can check in maps. How long is it going to take you to get there? If your application tells you that it's going to take you about 45 minutes, just add 10 or 15 minutes to that time because you never know what could happen. If it is the winter, there might be a lot of snow. It would be raining like today. Probably there is an accident. If you are taking the TTC, there might be delays in the trains. Years ago, I remember we could say, "Oh, I'm sorry, there was a delay with the TTC." But nowadays, everyone knows that the TTC is not reliable. That's not an excuse anymore. If you're driving, "Oh, sorry, there was an accident." Okay, probably the accident could be accepted, but employers expect that you take some measures in advance when you're attending an interview, an in-person interview. Also, you need to analyze the job posting. I mentioned yesterday that what you need to do, you need to go to the job posting, copy the job posting, paste it in a Word document. Once it's pasted in the job document, you find keywords. What are these keywords? These keywords could be soft skills required to do the job. it could also be hard skills required. For example, if the job says ability to work under stressful situations. Remember that for each sentence in the job posting, there could be a question. It says ability to work under stressful situations. One of the questions could be, tell me about a time when you had to deal with a stressful situation at work. Tell me about a time when you had to meet a deadline in a short period of time. What would you do if you have to meet a deadline today at 4 o'clock, but at 2 o'clock your supervisor comes and they assign you a new task that it also needs to be completed by the end of the day? How would you approach this situation? Make sure that you review the job posting. The job posting is not only for you to use it when you apply to the job, when you customize your resume for that job. Your job description is going to help you to anticipate questions, possible interview questions. Use it. Highlight. If you want to print it out, some people are like me, old-fashioned. We like to have paper and real highlighters. We print it out and we highlight important words so we can mention those words in the interview. Also, emphasize those words. Stress those words when you're speaking. If you're speaking too fast, the employer's brain or the interviewer's brain is not going to be able to catch the keywords. Also, part of having good communication skills is that you stress the words when you need to. For your job research, use previous knowledge. Is what I mentioned before lunch. You are going to be applying to similar jobs. After each interview, write down the questions that you can remember you were asked. Next time you go to an interview, prepare yourself for those questions that an employer already asked you in the interview. That's important. Use your previous knowledge. You need to research as well the salary. You need to know what you should be paid in the position. I just had a conversation with a client 5-10 minutes ago. She went to an interview yesterday, and they asked, what is your salary expectation? And she said $22 an hour. Then the person said, this is a role that pays salary. Could you make it like, how much do you expect per year? And the budget, she asked, what is the budget? They said from 65 to 70,000 per year. So her salary expectations were like she said $22 an hour. But if we do the math, 65,000 to 70,000 is about probably $37 an hour. I didn't do the math, just let me do it. But it's more money than what she was asking. Let me see. 65. Let's pretend she is working 35. It's like $35 an hour. Her expectations, she said $22 an hour, but they are offering 35. It's because she didn't do her research. If they give her $25 an hour, she could be missing some money there because she didn't research for how much they pay in that particular position in the GTA. There is this website working in Canada.gc.ca. If you are going to be applying in the Peel Harton area, Brampton, Mississauga, Hamilton, you can go to workinginpeelharton.com and you will find labor market and salary information there. Also, don't forget, don't start talking money until you have a job offer, unless they ask about your expectations for salaries. Otherwise, don't ask. It's a question. How much do you pay? That's a no-no. Also, research the location. If possible, visit the location to see how long it's going to take you to be there. If you're driving, anticipate that you might be paying for parking. Anticipate that they might not have parking for the company and that you will need to walk a few blocks. Be mindful of the time. Also, if you will need to pay for parking, are you paying with your card? Are you paying with cash? Be ready. Another R is that before the interview, you need to rehearse, practice. Anticipate employers' questions and prepare answers. I mentioned using previous experience. Also, I mentioned that for every sentence in the job description, in the job posting, there might be a hidden interview question. Prepare answers for that. Also, in your drive, you will find a document called the 56 most difficult interview questions. You could prepare yourself for those 56 questions. Some of you don't have it yet. I will be updating your drives after class. There are no excuses to not be prepared for your interview, for your meeting with the employer. Also, you might have a friend, a family member who could help you to do some role playing. They will pretend they are the interviewers and you could answer as if you were the actual candidate, if you were in the actual interview. If you don't have anyone, don't worry. Let me know in advance and I could assist you with a mock interview here at the center, or we could also set up a virtual meeting using Zoom, but let me know in advance. Remember that even if I am not with your group, I still need to facilitate for other groups. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., I am not available to meet with you. You might catch me during break time or lunch time, like this client who just called me, but sometimes I don't answer the phone during my break or lunch. So let me know in advance as much as possible. As soon as you get to know that you will have an interview, let me know. Don't leave it last moment. We also talked about this last week, that we're judged 55% by visual appearance and behavior, your body language, 38% how we sound, the tone we're using, and only 7% the words we say. You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. First impressions are not changed. Within the first 12 seconds of a telephone conversation, the listener makes an unconscious judgment of character, social status, education, and intelligence, using voice quality as patterns of speech as criterion. 12 seconds on the phone. Statistics tells us that most interviewers make up their minds about the candidate within the first 5 minutes of meeting the candidate. You don't have a lot of time. Make sure you are prepared to give a good first impression to all interviewers. Also, before you go to the interview, you already did your research, you anticipated questions, you prepared your answers, you know where you need to go, you have everything in place. Now you need to relax. Don't go to this interview feeling anxious and nervous because this could be against you in your performance. You could listen to relaxing music in order to have a good sleep. You could do some deep breathing exercises. If your interview is in the morning and you usually have breakfast, eat your breakfast before you go. If you usually don't eat breakfast, don't decide to eat breakfast that day because you will go to the interview. Your stomach could not take it easy. I've been interviewing people when they are feeling hungry, and I can hear their stomach that they're hungry. When I did interviews, usually I had granola bars, so they could have a granola bar after they left. Do what you usually do. If you usually eat. If it is going to be around 1 o'clock, bring with you a fruit, a snack that you can eat before the meeting, but bring a snack that is not going to leave any odors in your breath or in your clothing. Make sure you allow enough time to avoid delays and make arrangements for anything. If you have children, get a babysitter or someone who is going to get them to either pick them up from school, someone who is going to take care of them at home. If you get two phone calls from employers and they say one tells you I have 10 a.m. interviews and I have another time slot at 11 o'clock, you need to make a decision and choose. If possible, reschedule, tell them I'm not available at that time, I have a previous commitment. Because interviews are usually delayed. And if you are just thinking, okay, I'm going to be in this interview from 10 to 10:30, then at 10:30 I leave and the bus is going to take 15 minutes, so I will be there on time. You might be lucky and that works. But there are also great possibilities that the interview does not start at 10 o'clock, that the bus is delayed, and that you will not be to your second interview on time. Also, as part of your research, you need to research when they call you to invite you to the interview or when they send you the email. If you are going to be the only one person to be interviewed at that time, or you need to either pay attention to what they say or read the email, because sometimes they make a note that says first come, first serve. You might not be familiar with that type of interviewing, but that happens a lot, especially when there is a job fair or when the employer is seeking to hire a lot of people and they are just inviting a lot of candidates during a specific time frame. They are available to do interviews from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., but they just tell you be here at 10 a.m. When you arrive there at 9:55, you realize that 20 more candidates are waiting there that arrived before you, and you will be staying until 12:30. And you didn't have previous arrangements for your children, for your lunch. Keep that in mind about the first come, first serve. It's becoming very familiar with employers. Also, before the interview, so we see research, we see relaxed, and now it's review. Review your resume. Read your resume before you attend the interview. Be sure you bring a copy, an extra copy. If you have a portfolio, bring it with you. If you have reference letters, bring those letters with you. Also, bring your references with you. Sometimes, when at the end of the interview, the employer says, "Do you have your references with you?" And at that time, people are checking their cell phones to find the name and the phone number of the person they want to use as a reference. Anticipate that. Speak with those people and ask for their permission. "Hey, so and so, I'm going to have an interview and I would like you to be my reference. Can I use your name?" If they say yes, go ahead and prepare a letter of reference. I will show you in a second how your references paper needs to look. Also, bring paper and pen to write down a few important facts during the interview that will help you to remember the STAR model to answer behavioral questions and also to write down keywords that you will need to use. Do not write down all your answers, otherwise you will be tempted to read your answers from the paper. And dress for the business. If you are unsure what's appropriate, find out ahead of time. Many questions?
No.
No, all good. I'll show you the template, the references template. Remember that your resume and your cover letter must be, you must have the same letterhead you're using, the same font, the same letters, the same size. And also your references template needs to look the same. If your resume has your name in the middle, your cover letter and your references page, just copy and paste that heading. It needs to look the same. Don't use like for your cover letter, your name is going to be aligned to the left and then your references in the middle. You need to be consistent. Your name, your address, your phone, your email. Remember, the same heading you're using for your resume, just copy and paste that for your cover letter and for your references page. Then references, the name of the person. You could add Mr. or Mrs., but it's not necessary. You can just type the name of the person, just like this. That is acceptable as well. Their job title, your relationship, it's like former supervisor, former manager. Friends and family members are not references. If you have friend here, the employer might not call them because they are not someone who can speak about your work ethics and your previous accomplishments at work. The company they work or they used to work, the address, telephone, best time to call optional, also email. It's not here, but you need to add the email here. Add it. I will fix this. And you need to submit at least 3 persons' names here. An employer usually needs 2 references. So if you provide only 2, they need to contact these 2 individuals. But if you provide the name of 3 or 4 references, they have more chances to reach someone. And also, it means that you are not afraid of sharing people's references. that you performed well in previous jobs, that you left the job in good terms. Questions they ask to your references. They ask about the dates you work for the company, job titles. Sometimes they ask about salaries. They ask about the strengths. They ask about areas of improvement. They ask about concerns. Do you have any concern for this person's performance? They ask about initiative. They ask about interaction with other coworkers and with staff in general or with clients. And they always ask if they had the opportunity to rehire the person, if they would do that. You can share this with your reference. Just make sure that you request the permission first. Sometimes we call people, hi, I'm calling from ABC company and I would like to ask you some questions about Gwendolyn. She provided your name as a reference. And the person is like, who's the person? Or, yeah, we worked together 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't remember her. Make sure you use people who know who you are, who remember who you are, who can talk about your work ethics and your performance. Any comments, questions, clarifications?
No, I'd say that's pretty clear.
Okay. Do you have preferences? That's for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Perfect. Also, something that I wanted to mention is that when an employer wants to take you to the next recruitment process, they usually ask for your references at the end of the interview. Did you bring your references with you? Can we have your references? It means that you are going to the second round. But if they don't ask for it, offer them. Bring with you already that letter of references, or have that ready and available to be shared by email as soon as you finish the interview. If you tell them, oh, I have my references, do you need that? They will know that you are confident of your previous experience. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about how to dress for the interview. Make sure you dress for success. Do not wear jeans and running shoes to the interview. Jeans might be okay if you're applying to a construction job, a general laborer job, a job in the trade. But not to an office environment or customer service or even restaurants or hospitality jobs. If you decide to wear a skirt, don't wear a short skirt. Make sure you look professional. Don't wear hoodies. Make sure that if you have a blazer, carry the blazer because you're going to look more formal, more professional. Tuck your shirt to look more polished, like this person. Clean your shoes. Make sure your hair, your fingers are clean as well. This person here, it might be wearing a suit, he might be wearing a tie, but he doesn't look good. His hair is messy, this is too small, the shirt is too long, pants are too short. No wrinkles, no stains in your clothes, in your attire. Make sure you iron it in advance. It might be like common sense for some people, but for some others, they are just like, oh, I'm wearing this suit. What else do they want? But it's not only wearing the suit, it's wearing the suit properly. It's wearing an attire that is going to make you look professional. If you want to apply to the financial district jobs, that's a different story. For that one, you need to read some articles about what's the trend that they have there. I remember before the pandemic, you had to wear like brown pants and blue pants and brown shoes. That was the trend. Everyone was wearing that. And if you wore just like black shoes, you were not trendy for them, and they didn't want to be working with you because you were not wearing the attire that it was a trend that year. You need to do some extra research for that. General rules, dress for the role. Your patterns and colors should coordinate. Be conservative. Don't wear that neon top that you really like. Your fingernails and hair should be clean and properly cut. Clothing should be clean and pressed. Don't eat foods that will leave an odor on your breath and your clothing. And even coffee. If you're a smoker, don't smoke before. Even if you have a mint, the smoke, it gets in your attire. Bathe, take a shower, use deodorant, antiperspirant before an interview. If for any reason you don't use deodorant or antiperspirant, there are many reasons why people don't use it. Use some lime juice, lemon juice, baking soda. There are other alternatives to that. Sometimes if we're not used to the deodorant, we don't notice our BO, our body odor, and people might get uncomfortable. Also, be mindful of scent-free environments. Don't use your aftershave, your cologne, perfumes, because you don't know if the person who is going to interview you has an allergy. Also, sometimes we like our perfume, but it doesn't mean that everyone is going to like that. Just avoid it. As part of the etiquette for interviews, be always ready to shake hands. Yesterday, I was telling you that when the time comes to shake hands again, always bring all your belongings to your left arm to make sure your right hand is going to be always available to handshake. If you're in a networking event and if they give you drinks, get used to keep your drink in your left hand. Your right hand is always available to handshake. Go with the flow. If the employer is offering their hand, then handshake. If the employer is not offering, don't handshake. Also, smile. Look friendly and approachable. Maintain eye contact. Don't sit down until you're asked to have a seat. Even if the interview is not going the way you expected, stay positive. And 2 questions. When you're asked like 3, 5 questions, the employer feels weird about this. Arrive on time, 10, 15 minutes early. Do not arrive 20 minutes in advance or half an hour in advance, because interviews are delayed. And if your interview was at 10 o'clock and you arrived at 9:30, when time comes like 10 o'clock, you will want them to see you. And if they have a delay, your body language will show that you are desperate, that you've been waiting there for a while, that you really want to go into the interview now because now it's getting late. That is not going to help you. Just be there 10 minutes in advance. Unless the note says that interviews will be on a first come, first served basis. Call if you're going to be late. Be professional and courteous with everyone you meet, especially the receptionist. And very important, go alone. If your friend, someone is driving you, give them $5 and they can go and drink some coffee, or they can stay in the car, but don't bring them with you in the actual office, in the actual place of the interview. Now, during the interview, we reviewed what to do before: research, rehearse, review. But now you are in the interview. During the interview, make sure you actively listen to the questions. Make sure you understand the reason for the question. If you see this picture here, this is exactly what happens when communicating. You are revealing a lot of information, but the interviewer is not only listening to what you say, they are also writing notes and paying attention to your tone, to your body language, to your behavior. So there is only a little understanding. Speak slowly, be concise, be clear, focus on skills and accomplishments, use the keywords. It's not like playing tennis or ping pong. They ask, you answer. They ask, you answer. You can take a few seconds and plan your response before you talk. Be prepared to list reasons why you want this job. They could ask that in several ways. Why do you want to work for us? What makes you the best candidate for this job? What makes you unique? What attracted you to apply to this company? Those are the reasons why you want a job. Answer the questions clearly and directly, and be specific with your examples. Your examples can be from work, like paid experience that you have, but also if you're volunteering, you can bring examples from your volunteering role. Like yesterday when I was doing the interview practice with Homolara, I really like when she said, in my volunteering experience, I have done this and that. And she spoke about the skills that she applies there. Also, when you went to school or in life, like we have many skills. If you remember when you did the skills assessments, and on average, a person has about 400 skills. Because it's not only work, it's not only paid experience. It could be unpaid, learning, and leisure experience. If you just remember your pool, not sure if you learned this acronym already. When you're thinking, I put it in chat, when you're thinking about your experience and your examples, think about your pool. That goes for paid, unpaid, learning, and leisure or life experiences. I put it in chat if you want to make a note of it. And any questions?
No.
No. Okay. In your drive, I added a document called questions you can ask. Some of those questions are here, but also there are other questions here. What can you tell me about the company culture? How is success evaluated in this role? Who would I be working with? Challenges someone in this position might face. This question here. How is you're supposed to know what are the trends and challenges that this particular sector is experiencing? So you need to ask, or for example, now, how COVID impacted your organization? What changes were made after COVID? And the last two questions, always, you need to always ask these questions. What is the next step in the hiring process? You can also ask, when do I expect to hear back from you? You want to know when they are going to call you if you are offered the job, or how long is it going to take them to make a decision. If it's been a month after, probably they are not going to call you, but at least for some individuals, they want to know about time frame. And if it is in person, ask for a business card. You will need to send a thank you note after, and you want to get their business card, just for you to have that information. In your drive, you will find these 51 great questions to ask in an interview. Some of these questions are about the job. How do they handle their day-to-day responsibilities of the job? Some of these questions are about training and professional development with the company. Some questions are about future performance, how you are going to be evaluated while in the job. And some other questions about the interviewer only, like how long they've been in the company, what did they do before, why did they come to the company. Some questions will be related to the actual company. Some questions will be about the team you're going to be working with. Some questions will be about the culture, and some of these questions about next steps. You have a lot of samples here for questions. Don't go to the interview and when the employer says, do you have any questions for us? You say, oh no, I'm okay. Because that happens a lot, that the person is not ready to ask questions, and it's not okay if you don't ask questions. It doesn't make you look well. You're not prepared if you don't ask questions. So you have 51 questions you could ask. Ask 2 of those questions. Don't say, oh, my question is already being answered when you were giving me the information, because there are many things that you can ask. Any questions for me? Any comments?
If they didn't ask, do you have any questions then?
Most of the employers will ask you at the end if you have any questions. If they don't ask you, if they don't tell you, do you have any questions? Then there is nothing else you can say.
Okay.
Also be mindful of the sentence, if there anything else you would like to add. Add is to give. If they ask you that, it means that you need to summarize again your skills and your why is it that you want this job, or anything that is relevant to the job that you didn't mention, a qualification or a skill that you have that might be good for that job, even if they don't ask about it in the interview. But don't use that. I've seen that with people when I tell them, is there anything else you would like to add? They ask a question. So you need to be careful with that. Is there anything else you would like to add? You summarize and you tell them, you mention other skills that you haven't mentioned that will be an asset for the company. Only if they say, do you have any question? Or would you like to ask anything? Then you ask a question. Is it clear?
Yep, that's clear.
Yes.
Yeah, so today we reviewed the questions you could ask to the employer, and also you have in your drive, or you will have in your drive soon, this presentation. Tomorrow we are going to do the Credit Canada presentation. I recommend, if you don't want to have class on Friday, I recommend that on your own time, you review the document called 56 Most Difficult Interview Questions. It's in your drive as well. Review the questions, read about it, and then on Monday when we come back as a group, we can do some practice, or we can answer any question that you might have about this, or we can clarify your concerns about this. Use the time to read the 56 most difficult interview questions. We don't have class on Friday. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Okay. Omolara, Mufid.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yes.
No. Yeah, so I will see you tomorrow for
Yes, that's good.
I see you tomorrow.
Canada credit.
What time is the presentation tomorrow?
10:30.
10:30.
Oh, it's starting at
Yes.
10:30 tomorrow?
Yes, and it
Okay.
will finish at 12:30.
Oh, okay.
What we can expect on this?
Financial literacy. Credit score, how to improve your credit rating, what does it mean, the credit score, where and how to check your credit score for free, how to prepare a budget, how
Okay.
can you start your savings plan. He might have time to speak about RRSPs. It's financial literacy.
Okay. All right.
So you're not in debt in the future. And on Tuesday, we are going to be doing the interviews. Would you like to set up the time now for Tuesday?
Okay.
Yeah.
11:30. Do you have any time that time?
11:30 Tuesday. Are you okay, Mofit or Omolara? With 11?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
me,
okay.
Don
I'm okay with
is
11:30.
Okay. Everybody's meeting by 11:30.
Philemon wants to come in at 11:30.
Yeah.
I can make it by, let's say,
I have 10 a.m.,
9,
10:45, 10.
10:45.
Fine.
Yes,
For me, 9:45,
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, 10 o'clock
10:45.
Mufid and 10:45 for Molara. Okay. Molara. And I
She's
will
on the
do,
next day, no?
that's for Tuesday. That's for Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll be doing it Wednesday.
You will be doing on Wednesday. I will schedule the time with you in Ash for Wednesday. We can talk about it on Monday.
All right, sounds
Alicia
good.
also.
Yes, because I'm also scheduling other clients to meet with me in downtown Wednesday. Okay. Please review that document. Make sure you read it properly. You write some notes. If you have any questions or concerns, on Monday we're going to continue with interviewing. We will cover on Monday how to answer behavioral questions and also how to handle illegal questions.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for today.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank
See
you.
you. Yeah.
Good day.
Thank you. See you tomorrow in the Credit
Have a
Canada
good day,
info
everybody.
session.
All right.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.